Human connections. That's what this presentation is about. Felice, shall we begin? May we ask someone at the far table to turn out the lights? Okay, we're ready for our first misconception. My husband is doing our technical assistance job today, so he's going to be advancing our frames for us. Yay for Roy. Talking about gratitude. Misconception. All Muslims come from the Middle East. Truth. Although Islam is often associated with the Arab world and the Middle East, fewer than 15% of Muslims are Arab. By far, the largest populations of Muslims live in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asian countries comprise more than 60% of Muslims. Middle East and North African countries make up only 20% of the total. 1/5 of the world's Muslims live as minorities in non-Muslim countries. Muslims are found all over the world, of every nation, color, and race.
Misconception. There are no similarities between Islam and other religions. Truth. Islam is an Abrahamic religion which is in the same family of religions as Judaism and Christianity. All three of the religions share many similarities, including important religious figures, historical events, and spiritual beliefs. In fact, Muslims are religiously required to believe in Jesus as a divine prophet.
Misconception. Muslims worship a different God. Truth. A lot of people think that Allah is a specific Islamic deity, but really, it just means God in Arabic. Christian Arabs even use the word Allah when referring or praying to God. Muslims believe Allah is the same God whom Jesus, Moses, and other biblical prophets all prayed to.
Misconception. Islam is intolerant to other faiths. Truth. Throughout the Quran, Muslims are reminded that they are not the only ones who worship God. Jews and Christians are called people of the book, meaning people who have received previous revelations from the one Almighty God. In the Quran, chapter 49:13 says, "O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and a female and made you into nations and tribes that you may know each other." Islam mandates the collaboration with persons of different faiths, cultures, and races. Islam has always given respect and freedom of religion to other faiths. There are many historical events of Muslims' tolerance towards other faiths.
Misconception. Muhammad was the founder of Islam and Muslims worship him. Truth. Muslims believe that Muhammad was God's last prophet and communicated God's final revelation, i.e., the Quran. Muhammad is seen as the best example of how to be a good Muslim. He is held in great esteem, but he is not to be worshipped. Worship is reserved for God alone.
Misconception. Women in Islam do not have any rights. Truth. The Quran grants women total control of their wealth, the right to choose their spouse, seek divorce, keep their own surname when married, right to own and inherit property, conduct business, access to knowledge, equal pay for equal work, and participate in all forms of worship that men participate in. Islam has guaranteed these rights, among many others, to women for over 1,400 years.
Misconception. Islam oppresses women. Truth. Violence towards women and forcing them against their will is not permitted by Islam. Unfortunately, many women are oppressed. However, this is a global issue and not just Islamic oppression. Muslim women have been presidents and prime ministers. 4 out of the 5 countries with the largest Muslim populations have had female heads of state.
Misconception. Muslim women are forced to wear the hijab. Truth. Although Islamic teachings do require women to wear the hijab attire, how a woman chooses to cover herself and to what degree is under her autonomy. Women often see wearing the hijab as empowering because they are not viewed as sexual objects, but judged by their character instead. There is nothing in wearing the hijab that restricts a Muslim woman's freedom to express her views and opinions, to own property, or to have an education and career.
Now we're moving to the category about Islam and terrorism. Misconception. Islam permits terrorism. Truth. Islam totally forbids and condemns the misguided acts of vigilantes that target innocent civilians. Terrorism cannot be justified under any valid interpretation of the Islamic faith. The entire Quran, taken as a complete text, gives a message of hope, faith, and peace to a faith community of 1.6 billion people. The Quran, chapter 5:32, says, "If anyone murders an innocent person, it will be as if he has murdered the whole of humanity. And if anyone saves a person, it will be as if he has saved the whole of humanity."
Misconception. Muslims do not speak against terrorism. Truth. Mainstream Muslims are speaking out clearly and consistently condemning such acts as immoral and counter the fundamental precept of Islam. Muslim organizations issue statements of condemnation which no media publish. Because of this, Muslims are accused of not condemning terrorism, and in return, Islamophobia increases with Muslims, masjids, Islamic organizations, and schools becoming target of hate crimes.
So masjids is the Arabic word for mosque. Misconception. Jihad is a holy war. Truth. The meaning of the Arabic word jihad is struggle. It usually means a struggle of one's soul against the self and sinful desires. Military effort is included as an option, but as a last resort, only to defend the religious community against oppression and persecution. The media has sensationalized the views of a small percentage of violent extremists as the legitimate understanding of Islam, as a community seeking global domination by force.
Misconception. Anyone who claims to be a Muslim and dies killing in the name of God will be a martyr. Truth. Certainly not. In Islam, a mere verbal declaration of faith is not enough. Any act of worship needs to be done according to Allah's guidance. Islam sets down clear guidelines as to when war is ethically right and clear guidelines as to how such a war should be conducted. On the other hand, it is believed that anyone doing anything for the sake of God and is killed becomes a martyr. A person who dies while performing pilgrimage in Mecca, a woman who dies while giving birth, or even someone who dies in a car crash while he was on his way to the mosque are all considered martyrs.
Misconception. Sharia law is archaic and cruel. Truth. Sharia law, or Islamic law, is about protecting the innocent and upholding Islamic values. Sharia law is not about extreme punishments for minor offenses. In fact, Islamic scholars in the U.S. agree that Sharia law is not in disagreement with the U.S. Constitution or the Bill of Rights because there is no conflict between the laws of the land and the practices Muslims follow. Okay, that's the end of our PowerPoint presentation. Can I ask for the lights on the, Susan? Thank you. And thank you, Felice, for putting this PowerPoint presentation together.
Thanks for listening.